Spears and Steinberg.
You know what the fuck it is?
Aries and Andy, Jew and the Jerk.
You know it's time to get this work.
The real raw, gutter, uncut cocaine. No political corrections.
Always sleep.
Fuck being awoke. We discuss politics and jokes.
Scribe, we lit.
There's levels to this shit. Before you was sucking on your mama's tit.
Aries Spears don't give a fuck.
We talk about race a lot, racism,
Sexism.
Much love to my loyal bitch bag holders.
Rollers, clip loaders.
We got them in the folders.
The whole world on our shoulders.
Spears and Steinberg.
Yeah.
Okay, quick recall. I don't know if recall is the right word, but
Do you want to make it like a rewind sound then?
we got a lot. Yo, big. My bad to all the fellas out there. When Andy and I did got a lot of flack for this. When Andy and I did both of us, our top 5 point guards. We did not mention Steph Curry at all.
And I'm not apologizing for it. I wouldn't put him in my top 5.
Now you're insane.
No, I'm not insane because he doesn't play the position as a standard point guard. He's one of the best shooters ever, if not the best shooter. But he's playing point guard because of his size, and he can pass the ball, which is fine. But you're telling me that you put Steph Curry and Jordan on the same team and that works?
I think it absolutely works.
I don't think it works.
I think he knows that Jordan's the man and Jordan's going to be Jordan. And what a perfect guy to kick out to when Mike breaks down the defense and draws the double teams.
A perfect guy to kick out to. If he ain't, I'm going to see Jordan's face when someone launches a 40-footer.
And makes it?
If he makes it.
It's Steph Curry?
It doesn't always go down.
Right now, folks, I can tell what's happening right now. That scene in Do the Right Thing when the white dude with the bicycle with the Larry Bird jersey on and he scuffed up Giancarlo Esposito's Jordans. And he says, as he's about to enter his brownstone, I was born in Brooklyn. And all the black people went, ah, threw their arms up. When you said no to Steph Curry in your top 5, I guarantee you every dude listening to this went, ah.
Dude, why can't you just put Steph Curry at shooting guard and put him in any team that he doesn't have to run the show because he is the focal point of the offense.
And you know what's crazy? When I forgot to mention him, and then people were hitting me up like, how could you fucking guys not mention Steph? I thought to myself at that exact moment, if I would have mentioned Steph, I know Andy would have went, okay, I'll put him in my top 5. But you said no and was adamant.
Here's my thing. And again, we've already addressed this. The point guard is the leader of the team for me. He's not gonna. He's the quarterback of the team. You have to play around what team you have. And yes, I do think I'm not saying that they wouldn't have won with him and Jordan. That's not Jordan. Jordan needed Kerr, someone who wasn't taking the shot, someone who ran a very traditional offense around Jordan.
Right.
That's not that team if you do that. All I'm saying is the point guard position. And I could probably come up with 5 that I think are great. I could come up with 10 that are great, but they are great also because they fit with the right team. Put John Stockton with someone else. Tell me
that was another one. People, when you guys didn't mention Stockton,
put him with someone else.
Is he in your top 5?
If you put him with Jordan, if you put him with Karl Malone, if you put him in a position where he's running the pick and roll all day, yeah. But
so we know for sure with you, it's Mark Jackson, John Stockton.
No, I'm not putting him. I don't. Okay, I'm going to rephrase this. I don't have a top point guard because it has to do with the team. It has to do with putting a team together.
So all the point guards we name, ain't none of them in you don't have a top 5?
Magic Johnson, the ultimate point guard.
That's it.
Fuck it. After that, he could pass, he could dunk, he could shoot, he could play the game the way the game needs to be played. Who else plays the game that way? In every single facet of that fucking game.
Somebody also mentioned how you guys didn't mention John Morant.
Well, he hasn't. Has he been around long enough to?
Well, I mean, if you're making up a fantasy 5, yeah.
I need to see what he's going to do. A few years from now.
I think we've come to the conclusion, folks, that other than Magic, Andy doesn't have a top 5.
I don't. That is the ultimate point guard. Tell me another point guard that has that game that way. And the other one that I would say is Anthony Hardaway, but he got hurt.
Okay, so we know for sure Magic and Mark Jackson.
Well. Again, Mark Jackson, if it had to be the offense, if he was playing for the Warriors.
Well, don't get pedantic now because
Yeah, okay,
you had him definitely
because he plays a traditional
and there's
game.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
So Magic and Mark Jackson. That's it.
But I can put Jason Kidd in there.
Okay, put Jason Kidd. That's 3.
Okay.
You said Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, I go back to like. I mean, if you're really going to get me to give 5, then I have to. You have to go ahead and put Isaiah in there because he did it.
That's
he did
4.
It. He did it all fastest. But
Right.
I
Jason
wouldn't trust.
Kidd, Isaiah, Magic, Mark Jackson. You got one more. Fill it up. Just one more.
Okay, traditional point guard. I'll put him in because he was in Phoenix. The dude, and he isn't in my top 5. But
Chris
I'm putting him
Paul.
No,
Kevin Johnson.
yeah, Kevin Johnson.
All right. There it is.
And it's lousy, but they don't work unless they're on the right team.
Well, nobody works unless they're on the right team.
There's not but when you call it a court, Magic works with anybody you put him with because Magic is pass first. I can play the offense. I can go down low. I can go up
Magic
top.
is, that Magic is.
But who else has that game? That's the perfect point
I know,
guard.
but
to me.
Magic, you're talking about the best point guard ever. So, once you get past the best point guard ever,
Then it's a big drop off.
I don't know what that would be. A big
That's
drop
it to
off,
me.
But okay. You said big drop off.
Yeah.
All right.
For point guard skills at every single facet of the point guard position,
All right.
and being able to pass first, and being able to put your game back for the team game.
All right. Okay. I respect it. Real quick.
That sounded like I just throw chest passes
Yes.
and bounce passes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also some dude wrote me an email and was upset with me because he was like, yo, you put some respect on Bill Russell's name. They didn't, and I fucked up. I thought the seasons back then was like 29 games. It was 79, but there was only 10 teams. So again, it ain't his fault. That was his era. But dude, 10 fucking teams.
There was more teams as he went along. They added more teams in his career.
Okay, but they weren't even half of 82 games. If you said 41, okay. 40, I mean, not 41. What's how many normal teams are there? It's 29. It's 29.
29.
Yeah, I think it's 29.
Is it 29? Or
I think it's 29.
See.
It's 29 NBA teams total, I think. I'm pretty sure. But goddamn, 10 teams, dude. How much respect do you want me to put on that?
But out of all those 10 teams, he was the best at that time.
Okay. And
he kept people that are considered one of the best, Will Chamberlain, from getting his rings.
Somebody actually corrected you on
Wasn't?
that. Yeah, somebody wrote and said that he didn't dominate Wilt like that.
Did he win? Did the Celtics beat them?
Yeah.
Did the Celtics have a hard time? Did the Lakers have a hard time getting past the Lakers when he was
Yes.
on there? Okay. You want to call it domination. He took him out of the
He gave stats and numbers in terms of why Wilt was better than Russell. But I know what you mean in terms of winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was able to basically, when you put the 5 on the floor, if you can cancel out one of their players, now it's 4 against 4. That's how the game breaks down. If you can get a zero sum from the other player that you're playing against, listen, he was already. It's hard. You can't say Will came up for that era too. Just loses a lot of credibility. I shouldn't say credibility. He didn't play against the best, like you just said. Also, he came up at a different time as well. But dude, that was a phenomenal basketball player. But them together, I mean, yes, when they're playing on the court, those guys cancel each other out. They're both dominant.
My argument was, other than Wilt and Russell, who in that era as a big man could you name?
I don't know.
Nobody. So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm like, yes, he won. But dude, if they all played in the same era, big men, again, Kareem, Wilt, Bill Walton, Shaq, Hakeem, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, there's no way. 11 rings? No way. But that's that. What are you looking up?
I was just making sure, check ourselves. 30 teams in the NBA.
Back then?
No, now, right now.
30. Okay. So I was off by 1.
Yeah.
Incidentally, Andy finally saw this movie that I told him about, Father Stew, with Mark Wahlberg. And I kind of always felt like, Mark Wahlberg was Mark Wahlberg-ish. Hey, what do you mean? I said, I don't know that. But it was Boogie Nights that to me solidified his acting ability. And then everything else still felt kind of, what are you doing? Yeah. But this movie, Father Stu, I liked it, but wow, it's based on a true story. Extremely depressing. It's extremely depressing. But his performance in this is solid, and Mel Gibson is super solid. And I always thought Mel was a great actor. I just think the Lethal Weapon movies kind of overshadowed what you knew he could do acting-wise. Because even now I'm sitting here going, well, no, let me not say that, because I was going to go, what movie did he really show his ass acting-wise? And of course, you could say Braveheart and The Patriot. Yeah, Mel Gibson's a bad boy, and he killed this. I loved him more than Mark Wahlberg, even though Mark was damn good too.
I thought Mark was great in it, and see, I didn't want to get into this because there's a spiritual side to this movie, and we're going to save it for when we get into a different spiritual discussion. But see, it wasn't a sad movie to me because no matter what was given to that dude, it never broke his spirit.
And I guess that's the bottom line. If it don't break your spirit and you're all right with it, then there it is.
It's not about being all right. It's about understanding that this is a challenge that you were given.
Well, okay.
And I thought Wahlberg played that masterfully. I really think it's almost, he had to play that way below his Wahlbergianness.
Right.
And I think maybe some of that could have been because it is based on a true story, and I don't know if he met the guy, but there was obviously tape on the guy that he could have seen and kind of got who he was. I don't know if that helps him, to play the character.
Right.
But
do you know what they said that was that caused him to, what is bones?
I don't.
What it's the medical term?
I don't remember that. Honestly,
something where his bones give out, right?
Yeah, his bones and muscles are degenerating, and then he won't have any use of it, and then eventually, his lungs and all the muscles,
all his internal shit turned into a smoothie.
Yeah, basically that's it.
Right,
father smoothie.
Father smoothie. That's good. Forgive us. Hey, I'm not, like you just said, I'm not going to get off into a long, because this is easily set up to do that. I'm just going, the man wanted to be a priest. He gave, it's so much so that the woman who he wanted to fuck at first said she wasn't going to fuck him unless they were married. So that scene where she thought he was going to propose after she's already had sex with him because of the accident, he says to her, I'm going to become a priest. And she thought he was going to propose, and she was upset because she was like, man, I had sex with you, and now you won't make an honest woman of me. So she was mad that he was becoming a priest now. And I'm just sitting here going, he became a priest, no more pussy. What they call that, a vow? Something?
Vow of celibacy.
Yeah, vow of celibacy. Turns his life completely over to God, commits 1,000%. And he turns into a smoothie. Yeah, okay.
But I think that, the beginning of the movie, the reason I don't think I said it wasn't, obviously there is some depression in it, but it shows when you committed and you have faith that is more powerful.
His father had to help him off the toilet, for God's sakes.
Yeah, because he wasn't able to control anything anymore. By the end, he's not able to control anything. Listen, it's a tough watch. It is a tough watch. It does take you through, it takes you through his emotional ride where you question everything. And that's why I thought the movie was powerful and worth seeing. But it is a tough one. It's kind of slow in places, but if you can get through it, yeah.
I kept waiting for something miraculous to happen.
But see, that's how we want to believe life works. But the truth is, this is our life.
Life is like a bad Christmas. It's supposed to feel good. You're supposed to be excited to open your gifts. But when you do, you get a fucking avocado.
An old avocado?
An old avocado, nigga.
But, we already know the directions. And listen, this is going to sound depressing. I don't want to get it here, but I'll just say it. There's instructions when you're born. And the instructions are live life and then you die. There's no one that gets out of this. So when you're saying, you're looking for this miraculous thing, everybody wants a miraculous thing, but we all know how it's ending. I don't care if you're the billionaire, you're the queen, or if you're
Well,
the
we
dude
know
on the street.
we know what the ultimate end is.
Yeah.
But some people between birth and then, a lot of miraculous shit happens.
Yeah, that we see. But spiritual awakening, finding out who you are as a human, that all happens to people in different ways. I'm not. This is a different conversation. We're going to end up going there. We don't. Need
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Because I know you don't want. I know we're saving this for us to do something with this because we have talked about this. We want to do something else with this, but we just have to put it in the right place with the right people at the right time. And
good Lord, yes sir, and the Lord say yes sir. Okay, listen, folks. There is a great documentary, you guys, especially if you're a fan of movies and movie makers. I remember me and Andy talked about De Palma on Showtime, that documentary about Brian De Palma. But there was another one, it's about 2 hours and 20 minutes, about Steven Spielberg. I could watch this type of shit all day because for me it's educational, informative, and, when you're in the business, you just like to know all the nooks and crannies of success, failure, what people thought, how people fucked up, how they made it right, how it became a success. So I'm intrigued by shit like this. It's called Spielberg. And I just basically looked at it, and then certain movies, of course, that I remember, I made notes. And we're going to go through some of these films and compare brain patterns. The one thing he opened up with, which I never saw the movie, Lawrence of Arabia.
You never?
I've never seen it.
I've seen it. It's a beautiful movie. And
it looks stunning.
Yeah, it's a beautiful movie. It doesn't.
Right.
I don't know that anybody's going to rush out to go see it, but it's something that if you are a movie fan and if you like cinematography, you should check it out. It is a beautifully set up movie. They were really playing with color back then and really manipulating this so that they really popped. It's worth watching if you're a movie fan, but you got to be a movie fan.
Well, see, I'm glad you said that because my note was I realized through what he was saying, I'm more of a movie enjoyer than a guy who knows movies. Because when he was describing how, and the actor who plays him is some gorgeous looking motherfucker.
He passed not too long ago.
Really? But when he lifted up his knife and he looked at his reflection in the blade, when he was all, and as Spielberg described him and this gorgeous look that he had in terms of his face, the Arabian outfit that he had on, he was just pristine, perfect. And the way that the sunlight gleamed off the blade and he could catch his reflection in the blade, he described as this beautiful, beautiful moment. And then the contrast to that cut to after the big war or the fight, he describes him as having been covered in gore, just blood and dirty. And he looks at himself in that same knife, and it's the vast difference. And, the way he broke it down, I just went, I didn't get all that. The way you broke that down, okay. But I didn't see all of that.
You'd have to see the whole movie to really get the feel. What are you saying? But yeah, you saw it a little bit in there, and it's Peter O'Toole who was the star of that film. But the acting was different back then too. They really wanted to convey the story with message,
right,
and slow movements, and really enunciating certain areas of the word. They're very Captain Kirkish in some places.
It's hard to believe, and I know what you mean because that reminds me of. That was the Humphrey Bogart, James Cagney, what's the famous Joan Crawford era. Where, your dame. You call them dames then. Look here, dame. Yeah, dame. No, Charles, please. I don't want to go. Leave, you say. Leave, you say. And you know who did a great skit? I loved it. It was fucking ahead of its time. Remember Kelly Cofield? The white girl from In Living Color.
Oh, yeah.
She would do that character where she was in black and white and everybody around her was in color.
Oh, yeah.
And she would talk like that.
That was a great skit.
Man.
I remember it.
Because it wasn't just her doing that character and the acting of that time, but with special effects, she was in black and white while everybody else was in live color. That was genius. I thought that was fucking genius. Matter of fact, we kind of ripped that off on Mad TV. I saw that and I got inspired. And I said, my first year on Mad, I wanted to do, I would play Louis Armstrong. And I forget the white guy who was on the show with me. He did a great Jimmy Stewart. So they put us as Jimmy and Satchmo in black and white and everybody else in color. And we were doing a condom commercial. It's called TP Condoms. And the guy would say, put that baby on before, slip that baby on before that something goes in. I forget the line, and I would go, oh yeah. So that was inspirational to me. But yeah, that acting, and I know what you mean, that over dramatization. And again, I just went, I think you have to have a director's eye, a director's vision, and a director's IQ to see what he's saying, because I just didn't get that.
No, but it's just about storytelling and making sure that he conveys the look where he saw the tortured look in his face
Right.
from being the young, good-looking man that he was when he started.
Right.
But where does your notes go next? Because I don't want to go too
that
far.
was it on that.
Okay, but what I wanted to ask you, and this is because there's something in there that relates to you that doesn't relate to me that I saw, and I have a question for you.
Right.
And it's because he figured out at a very early age that this is what he wanted to do.
Right.
I mean, he's sneaking onto the studio. He actually stole an office space
Right.
on studio. This is my real question for you.
That's my note right there, what you're saying. Go ahead.
Okay. How does it feel at a young age to know what you're supposed to be doing? Because most of us don't figure it out until much later in life. Most of us figure it out, when we're forced to figure it out as we're going from in our 20s into our 30s. We kind of figure it out.
Right.
But people like myself didn't figure it out too much later in life.
Dude, when I am not exaggerating when I tell you, when I was a child, I knew I wanted to be famous. I loved being silly. I loved being in front of a camera. I wish I could. My mom had the footage when we lived in our apartment in New York. My dad.
COVID.
We the '80s era. So my dad bought literally one of the first camcorders ever. I mean, the motherfucker was as big as a goddamn news camera.
Yeah.
And it came with a pack where you put the VHS tape in the fucking box that you carried on your shoulder like a briefcase with the camera. I mean, it was a lot of equipment. So when he got it, I remember he came home and he just was shooting stuff in the one studio apartment. And there was this thing where me and my sister were role playing. And I remember I had on my dad's fucking circle-colored brown leather cap. And I took a cigarette and I was pretending to be a street dude. And I must have been 8, 9. And I would just, yeah, baby, what's happening? And I would just, dude, it was always a big deal to me. So I just knew, man. And plus, I had zero interest in school, zero interest in sports. Nothing mattered to me but being funny and silly. So yeah, I knew, man. I knew. That's why in this, what I thought was so insane was when they were going through, they said when he made his first movie and he had the ability, the foresight for the gun explosions he would put a stick down and put dirt over the stick. So he made it so that when the character was running and was being shot at, he would step on the stick, which would shoot the dirt up in the air, and it looked like a gunshot. Not only is that impressive at a young age you do that, but he knew how to angle the camera so you didn't see the guy step on the stick. So when he runs in real time and he hits the stick and the dirt shoots up, it looked like a real movie effect.
Yeah.
To know that at that age,
And
that's insane.
And they don't talk about this because, I mean, obviously they're focused on Steven Spielberg, but there's very few people that have been at a youthful age, understanding direction, looking at things from that that perspective.
Right.
And that's something, because the only other one I know about who looks at it is Ron Howard, because he started off when he was very young on that Andy Griffin show.
By the way, one of my favorite fucking movies ever, speaking of Mel Gibson and acting, directed by Ron Howard, Ransom.
Yeah, really good.
Oh,
I was going to bring that up when you brought up his movies.
What's my girl's name? She played his love interest in The Lethal Weapon, Renee Russo. The acting between them, when he, that part was, give me back my son. And boom, you hit a gunshot and she thinks the kid's been shot. The fucking walkie-talkie falls on the ground. The way she slaps him and curses at him. Then he runs out into the balcony and just looks like he's about to jump. And he slumps down on the ground and she comes and slumps down. Man, oh shit. Anyway.
Yeah, but those guys are the guys to me that see that I trust their eyeball. But to even be a kid and to even figure out, okay, if they're running and they step on this and it's going to shoot some, you have to see that you have to see it.
Yeah. That's again, no matter what your field, comedian, actor, rapper, movie director, it's Magic Johnson IQ. You see the play 3 times before everybody else. And you just say, it's an eye. Like when Martin Scorsese was like, yo, Steven comes in and he just goes, okay, boom, set up a camera. There, give me that shot, let's go. He's seeing something that I go, yeah, you got to be a movie guy.
Yeah, you got to see
You got to know movies for you to walk into a blank space and you visually know, boom, boom, this is what's going to happen. Yeah, that's some...
And I know there's some people out there going to go, that's storyboarding. You put on a storyboard. But when you watch this and these guys go, they have the storyboard and they go, you know what? Move that. They see it.
They see something.
When they walk into the room, even if it's on the board, they can walk into the room and they just see it differently. And it's all the movie's made in here.
Yeah.
Before it ever goes on to the
right.
So but that is a big question for me because I wish that I knew my question is for myself, and this is, you guys don't have to ponder this with me, but it's just, if I knew sooner, would I have been better, or would I've got caught up in something that would have been that maybe I wouldn't have made it through it?
No, I think you innately get better because the longer you do something, you just keep you keep adding and adding, figuring out what works, what doesn't, experience. You're feeding your mind. You just get better.
But life can also take you off the track. So if you have experienced a little bit of success, that can change everything.
Pussy and kids took me off the track.
So that's all. Yeah. So I don't know. I really, but I have a healthy, happy envy for people that've been able to find that. So,
the thing that started it all, man, Jaws. And I actually saw the bigger document, a whole documentary on the making of Jaws. And again, dude, when you know what they had to deal with, the being delayed, going over budget, and this was literally for him sink or swim. And goddamn it, he swam.
Yeah, but okay, there's a few things to this. And before I hit Jaws completely, there was that movie before it with Dennis Weaver with the truck that was chasing that's chasing him. The
car, Duel.
Duel, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
And the only reason I want to bring that up because that's almost like Jaws. There's a very similar where someone's being chased and it's happening.
Yes.
And I saw that movie and
I did too as a kid.
And it kind of got me like, this is what I'm saying. Why I asked you the earlier question, how did you know? And when you knew, because I saw that movie and it hit me in a way that I was like, wow.
Right.
But I never went further with that in my head. Like, wow, could I do so? But the reason and the other reason I bring this up, because the movie was similar. And now he has that one success. And then you said he gets to Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
How big are your balls that you go, no, I'm not going to do this in a pool, like, a studio set up pool. We're doing this in the ocean. I don't have a shark. We don't even know if it's going to work.
Right.
We don't. There was so many we don't haves. We don't have the full script. There was so many don't haves in Jaws. So when I'm saying this movie is created in someone's head, it had to be in his head.
This is why I always say, man, and this is where I'm sorry I get repetitive, but to the point, people that are not creative making creative decisions make me sick. Because, the studio would have went, do it on the lot. And they have those. Big, huge blue screen. Do it in the pool. And for him to go, I'm not gonna have you guys devalue my artistic integrity because you want to save some money. When really the money is gonna come from the artistic integrity. Let this genius be his genius.
But he wasn't a full-fledged, we have solid information. This man is a genius yet. He was still right there.
Okay. But when you're a kid making gun effects at that age, that genius, by the time he got to Jaws, come on, man, it was there. And for him to put his balls out there and go, nope, not doing what you guys want me to do. Even though, he could have probably caught some flack or been fired, he stuck his fucking guns. And that's why I say I love these things because the inspiration is no matter how hard it is, no matter how much you may want to quit, and there's no guarantee you're right, but 90% of the time, if you stand firm in your gut, the payoff is what it's supposed to be.
Okay. And in Jaws, though, this is the thing that why I have a problem with movie making right now. Not that I have a problem with all movies. I think there's really great movies out there. But today, CGI, no problem. You want a shark? I'll put a shark in there for you.
Oh, dude, one of the worst CGIs was Deep Impact, I think it was called. The shark movie with LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So Jaws, though, if that thing isn't working, or if it was working right, the shark, you don't get the dun-dun-dun. The dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Right.
You don't, because that became scarier.
Yes.
And so sometimes your limitations actually grow you as an artist. That's the kind of things that I think we're missing a little bit, because if someone doesn't have it, we'll just put it in. We'll put all the special effects and we'll just cut that in.
You see that penis? Don't feel bad. Our limitations will help us grow. Right.
But no, that having some, some constraints sometimes, like we talked about it in Rocky when they didn't have the money and they had to do that scene at the skating rink. That changed the movie. So there is something to be said about, when you get some constraints put on you, sometimes that's when you can really achieve. I'm not saying that's what you always want, but his constraints weren't put on by the studio. They didn't have a working shark.
Right.
And he was trying to figure out how to get all this in. And that actually made, I was terrified of Jaws.
That to me, that's to me as iconic in a movie as the Michael Myers. That shit is just, that's as important to the movie as the movie itself. And kind of jump into Duel a little bit, but I remember one of the directors said about that scene where the guy who's being chased in the car is in the restaurant. Then they pan the camera over to who they want you to think it could be. The guy leaving the restaurant with the cowboy hat. And all in one pan, but several movements, we go from the guy who's being chased to the guy who you think it's going to be, to watching the guy leave the restaurant. He's walking towards the truck, and we go, the truck is parked at the restaurant, which means the guy is in the area. So now you're being led to believe that's him. But then the car goes by. Once the car clears the frame, that guy drives away, leaving the truck still there. So it wasn't him. So the building of suspense. And the whole time you never see this fucking driver in the truck. To be able to build suspense without being obvious, that's fucking...
And you said that was that one pan shot.
Yeah.
So that all happened, again, in his head.
Right.
Before...
He saw that.
That whole thing.
Here's what most people would have done. Here's what I would have done. Cuts. Cut, cut, cut. And you know what a cut is. You've seen it. You know an edit. No, one non-stop movement, but a pan.
To trick your eye and to trick your brain.
Yes. Trick. That's what it is. That's yeah. But
this is what he's so good at. When he doesn't have the shark, he starts using the barrels that's supposed to bring the the barrels represents the shark. You get the music when the barrels pop up. You still don't have any shark. The movie has so little of the actual shark in it.
Right.
And when you really look back at it, and then you see the other movies, and like you just said, Deep Impact, how much they're trying to scare you with the shark.
With a fake shark. With a fake shark.
The shark ain't scary. The tension, the director builds is what's scary.
Deep Impact was we're gonna give you the obvious, and we're gonna do it with CGI. And both did nothing. So, and that's the genius, is to not go for the obvious. Because you obviously go, it's a shark, big, bad, great white, sharp razor teeth. Rah, it's gotta come at you. With the CGI, we could do this.
You do a lot of great impressions, but your shark impression is terrible.
Terrible. And then another place where he fought the fight is in Duel, the climactic scene where the truck goes over the cliff. And the studio said, we want you to go back, reshoot that, and make it explode. Do the big Hollywood thing. Explosion. And Steven went, no, I don't want to make the truck explode. The truck, seeing the wheel spin, to a stop, the fan in the truck still blowing, the oil dripping off the steering wheel like it's blood. That's the death of the truck. The guy, you don't even see the guy ever, but the truck was the guy. That's the death of the truck, the guy. A person who signs the check for the movie, they don't see that. They know the obvious. We're Hollywood, we got money, explosion. And look, a good explosion is nice. It's guy shit. It's man food. It's part of the man food menu. But man, to be able to create suspense and thriller without being obvious, that's a gift. That's an eye. That's Magic Johnson shit, man.
And he really came into this as a young man, already establishing that.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know I asked you this question before, but I'm gonna ask it again just in case I didn't ask you. Jaws as is, that version in 1975, would it hold up today?
No, I've seen it.
Again.
Yeah, actually, you know, the technology is different now, but yeah, actually the original Jaws holds up better than the other Jaws that they did afterwards.
The original?
The original.
You mean this Jaws 2, the sequel?
Yeah, the sauce.
Right.
That doesn't do anything, but this one, I think it does because it gets you. You know, you have first they establish it very well. The Brody dude came there to take a job where he didn't have. He had some challenges in his career and had to go to a smaller town, take it easy a little bit. He's going to go to this island. He hates the water. So we've already established. I mean,
right.
the storytelling's in there, so I think it kind of holds up. I mean, but we have so much more special effects and so many other things that are done now. Like when the head pops out
from under the water.
Yeah, when in the boat. You know, that's a terrible like dummy head. You know what I mean? It doesn't.
I thought the leg looked great.
The leg it's falling down looks pretty good, but the head didn't really. You know, you see it now. That scared the shit out of me in the theater the day when it was released. But when you see it now, our special effects are so much better that. So you know, I'm contradicting myself. You know, constraints or special effects. I think if the greatest directors right now use those special effects. Minimally where they really are needed. They don't just throw them out there. They're not the point of the scene. They add to the scene, and like that, I think that could have been added to. But when they're in there and they're drinking in the boat and they're telling their stories, and Richard Dreyfuss and now I forgot the other guy's name.
I'm gonna say
Robert Shaw.
Roy Schneider
And Robert Shaw.
Yeah.
When they start showing their injuries. And they're like, you know, the heartbreak. You know, it was funny, and then the shark attacks again. It's hitting the boat, and there's something about just that guy. It's a guy. It's a guy film. You're on the water. Right. You're taking on nature. I don't know. I think it still kind of holds up.
And then you know, of course, again the buildup of being over budget, all the problems. Steven felt like he was going to get fired, and then the results. When they said, you know, they drove around the block and the line was just ridiculous. And from there, it changed everything for him.
Does Hollywood have any more zeros to heroes than any other business?
I don't think so. And again, that's why I've said a million times, that is why, as Patrice described it, Hollywood is like getting eat up by the beast. And when you get shit out, you get back in line to get eaten up by the beast again. Because this shit can change your life overnight. I keep saying it takes one thing. Be commercial, movie, TV show, and now with social media, a viral clip, life could be changed in an instant. So yeah. And I don't know, man, maybe this is just part of my old nostalgia. But it feels like, man, back in the 80s, man, going to the movies, you didn't have any other, like there wasn't a lot of other watching options. You know, you didn't have just yet, and this was 75 Jaws, you didn't have VHS.
No, you had 3 channels too.
You had 3 channels. You didn't have VCRs. You didn't have social media. You didn't have streaming network. So when you went to the movies, I can't remember the last time I went to a movie and there was a line.
Yeah, even when the big ones come out now, I mean, there might be a line on Friday at that prime hour, but it's not like it used to be.
Right.
I mean, remember when I forgot which movie was the last movie I saw, but the theater had every single screen playing the movie, and it was playing every like all different times throughout the day. And there was you were waiting to get into that movie.
I think the last movie where it was like a big deal, where there was a little bit of a line, but it was packed, was when we went to go see End Game.
Yeah.
That Avengers End Game was.
But we went on a week. But you have to go if you want to avoid the line, don't go on Saturday because that's the day everybody and that's the day we can go.
Right.
And those prime hours but other than that, I don't think it gets busy like that.
Yeah, End Game, and you know what? God, could you imagine if End Game happened pre-COVID? We were just on the cusp of COVID starting. That movie was an event.
Right.
That would have been so not fun had that movie come out around COVID.
Oh, no.
To be in the theater and hear them people scream when fucking Captain America caught the hammer and then, Cap to your left. Oh.
But COVID taught everybody that it's acceptable to watch a new movie on a small screen in your house with, whatever
It's acceptable, but it ain't as fun.
No, that's what I'm saying though. But people we got used to it because that's what we had available to us. But I still like going to when I saw the Batman in the theater, I was so happy to be there. And it wasn't even on a huge screen because the theater I went to had where it was playing was a smaller screen. It was just so good to be there and hear other people cheering and, and there was an event. I don't understand. Like I want that popcorn.
Right.
I want I won't eat because I know I'm going to the movies and I want the popcorn and I want the soda.
It's part of it.
There's something just so special about that. And I think, unfortunately, the generations that are coming up now that are completely dominated by, streaming, all the platforms, huge TVs at home now, theater systems. They're not going to get that, man. They're not going to, and that's fine. I mean, they're going to have something else that we didn't have. Right. But it's just so that for like 100 years, that was such a big deal to go to the movies.
And for what it's worth, the butter was different.
Yeah, the butter used to be.
The butter was different, man. You felt like when you went to the movies, you went to the movies. Dude, I love when they would show the images, or even when those guys would talk about it. De Palma, Spielberg, Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, and Scorsese. They were like roommates.
Yeah.
They said they would watch each other's movies, critique each other's shit. Again, I've never played a professional sport, but I gotta imagine that's what an all-star game feels like. When you just got the best of the best fucking with each other. That's brilliant.
But you see this happening sometimes, like certain theater companies will have a bunch of actors hit at the same time, and you feel that
camaraderie.
Yeah, and then you see it like in hip hop music, like certain areas, like when hip hop is a little different because it hits in certain areas and everybody's friends, and then it can change though overnight. But that did happen where everybody kind of came up, and I think artists are attracted to each other. I think that, and when they get together, they can cause such a force that's what moves it.
Like you're being critiqued by another genius as you're a genius.
Yeah.
Like I love when Spielberg or whoever tells the story, I think it's Brian De Palma or whoever tells the story, but they go over to watch George Lucas' Star Wars. And Brian, out of frustration, just goes, "What am I watching? What is this with the hairy guy and the robot?" And he says to Lucas, he gave him the idea of the opening, the credit with the scroll to describe what's happening. And listen, every time I've seen Star Wars, the newer versions that came out, when the theater was packed, the minute you see Lucasfilms, silence, whatever the shit is, and they play that familiar Star Wars tune, and then words start scrolling, the audience breaks into applause.
Yeah, and you immediately want that because it's going to give you the insight to where we're going. That's such a genius, but like you just said, these geniuses are getting critiqued by other geniuses. That's why it's so funny. We run to the paper or we read online now the critiques. These are people that never done it. These guys have the people that do it all the time. Right. And yeah, I'm not saying the critiques don't have a place. They do. But I mean, when you hear something like that, could you imagine being in that room with all that creative genius and then They got and they said everybody was kind of tempered, saying, well, no one really understood because the special effects weren't all the way in.
Right.
And then De Palma just loses it. He just is the first to lose it.
Right.
And then if you look at De Palma and you look at how everybody fits into place, that's the guy who's going to lose it. And he did. He's like, it makes no sense.
Right. Right.
And so there's something so.
But to hear a guy like De Palma say that, how do you, as George Lucas, not get nervous? You have to still stand in your own creative ground.
Right. But because this is a room full of geniuses, he heard what he said and he goes, you know what? Let me work with what he just said because I have this in my head. So I know because Lucas obviously had all the Star Wars in his head.
Right.
And so, now he comes in at a certain point in this thing that he has in his head. So I just think it's great that they can do that together. That means, I've always, and one of the things I liked about comedy is comedians that get along. That's key. There's some camaraderie where they all kind of work together and there's some creative energy that I think is amazing when you watch it happen.
Right.
And certain groups that work together, and it's just kind of cool. I wish I was in one of those. Like me and you are together, but I always feel like we're kind of on the outside a lot of times on some of these groups. Like they'll be cool when we're there.
Yeah, I'm definitely feel like I am. I know I am, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point. But again, what I always find funny about those groups is they're almost at their tightest when they're broke and they're starting out. But then once success hits, some of them stick together, but that usually changes things.
Like Sandler's an exception.
Right, right.
He's stuck with his core group.
Yeah, his core SNL guys. What do you feel about Close Encounters of a Third Kind?
I was never a huge, I don't know why.
I never saw that.
I saw it. I liked it, but it was, I don't know if I wasn't, I liked, and I guess this goes to my character, I wasn't into the introduction of the space figure. I liked when we were in outer space, like George Lucas took us to outer space, and we're going to see this,
this whole other world. Yeah.
Not coming down and, fucking with us. But I mean, I enjoyed it for its time. I understood what it was. And I thought it was interesting because they interview him. And there's always been this talk that if you're going to communicate with an alien, and I don't even know why I know this, and it's for whatever, something I read, but math is the most logical place because, it doesn't change. You can explain things mathematically and you can have a relationship without words. I mean, it makes sense.
But they did it through music, right?
And they said that. He said, but I thought music was more had more of a spiritual feel to it, like a more of connection. And I thought it was kind of interesting learning that about that because I thought the bong bong,
right.
And then I thought it was a little, I didn't get it when I was a kid.
Let me ask you this. Tell me if I'm off my rocker. It felt like to me that they might have stole that from, remember this toy? The Simon something.
Simon.
Simon.
And
you push the thing and you got it, and it plays a thing back for you, and you got to keep doing it till you keep matching it, and it gets more complex. That's what that felt like to me.
Maybe because that would be, that's still the similar thing of communication. Red is still red.
Was it Simon Says? Was that toy
no, it was
called
Simon?
That was it, Simon?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's on kind of based on like a Simon Says because you're doing what it's doing. I don't know. That's a good question. I think that's very possible. I just, I don't know. When I look back at it, it was just a little weird how they did that. But it was cool. I mean, it's really one of its first, and it has. I mean, they're starting to really play with the special effects where it actually looks like they're there.
Right.
So it was cool.
It felt like, and I know he caught flack for this from other directors, but it felt like between Jaws, Close Encounters, E.T., up until, I don't know if Empire of the Sun was his first real serious one or Color Purple, but prior to those, he was being known as the big blockbuster movie guy with effects and puppetry and all these things that would bring families out and get kids excited. And of course, look, man, haters come no matter what you do. The more successful you are, you're going to get hatred. But I was like, yo, why are they shitting on him? It's his job to make movies. And we're in the business of the movie business where everything is big. I'm not saying stories always have to be big. There always has to be special effects. I'm talking about the money. the box office. And if he's the king of that, and that's his formula, why are you guys devaluing him like, oh, he's not to be taken seriously?
Well, because he was also the studio guy. He was the one who was in the studio. He was making studio pictures where these guys were all doing independents. And independent, it was considered at the time more the artistic movies. And he was doing studios. He worked with the studios. He had a relationship with the studios. The other guys didn't have that relationship.
But these other guys act like they wouldn't have wanted that.
Yeah, and maybe because they all didn't have it and only one person did. He was kind of the outsider in that idea. So they kind of, well, we don't want that. We don't want them telling us what to do anyway. We want to do it this way. When they would have liked the money and the being able to have that support, I think. One of the other movies that he did, though, at that time that you didn't bring up was 1940.
Oh, that was right in my next note. I'll get to it. Dude, again, when Jaws, I remember it like it was yesterday. E.T. was the creme de la creme of anything 80s movie. I think that was the biggest movie in the 80s.
Probably, yeah.
E.T. was, that when that came out, that was the what how did I word that? As far as movies go, E.T. was as big as the 80s got. I mean, everything from lunchboxes to Trapper Keepers to fucking T-shirts to toys. E.T. was all over the fucking place.
Well, and it went the same way in the home. Your parents liked it as much as the kids liked it because it crossed over. It was good.
Well, I dated myself. I said Trapper Keeper.
Everybody had a Trapper Keeper. and you don't have one because you're young now. You know what you missed out on.
And metal lunchboxes with thermostats.
Thermos, not thermostats is on the wall. Thermos are in your lunchbox.
Thermoses.
Thermos.
What did you keep in yours?
What?
Your thermos.
I lost my thermos almost immediately every time.
Oh, really?
Mom was always so mad at me. I would lose the thermos. I got fruit punch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hawaiian, usually fruit punch. She used to buy she didn't buy, we didn't get Kool-Aid because my mom didn't want to put the sugar in it.
Right.
So she would get the Hawaiian punch. It was in a glass bottle and you pour it in and make a picture of it and then you do that.
Did you like E.T.? You liked it?
Yeah, I really did like E.T. It's one of those things when I guess when you grow up, you go, I don't want to tell everybody how much I really liked E.T.
Right. Did you cry?
I don't think I cried, but I liked E.T. because it was funny in there too. They made the alien likable.
Yeah.
He wasn't scary. He was
right.
He was your friend.
Right. I love how they pointed out how he was great with kids.
Yeah.
Because working with kids acting wise can be one of the toughest things to do in terms of patience. But the way he could milk a performance out of a kid, I'm telling the man is, he's special. There's
a scene where he gets one of the actors, I don't know which one. I don't know if it's
cry. Drew Barrymore.
But and I love when he runs over and goes, "Are you okay?"
Mm-hmm.
After the cut,
right.
Are you okay?
Because she was still crying.
Yeah,
yeah.
And because you see kids in scary movies, and I've always wondered. I've never been on a movie set like that for a big studio movie.
Right.
What do you do? This is a scary scene. I guess you have to walk them through it, show them all the stuff first,
right.
and then. But it's still scary. When you're a kid, everything's scary.
Listen, just as impressive as it was for him at a young age to do a movie and make an effect, that blows me away. That you could get a child to administer that kind of emotion and range at that young age.
I like when the clips in there. So give me more, and then he would tell him what he needed more of, and he kept going.
I love it with the boy Elliot when he was like bigger, and then when he finally did it, the way he screamed and looked, I said, that motherfucker sold that shit. I got another note about child actors when we get to Jurassic Park. But yeah, 1941. This is where I go. You have to respect comedy.
Because there's the line in this. I love this.
Because you know what? This is how hard comedy is. No matter how good you are, and Steven Spielberg's a fucking genius, comedy not his forte. So yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. But comedy is so incredible. Such a respected, incredible art form. Don't mean it just because you great dramatic director, you got the birthright to comedy. That's a whole nother animal, man.
And he's working with guys that are, well, they were more improv guys.
John Belushi.
But they're not stand up, but they're improv guys.
Right.
But they were fucking some of the best to have ever done that.
Right.
And they had to come off a hit film already.
Right.
And that.
So, what's my man? Like when you look at, okay, here's still Steven Spielberg or Brian De Palma or Scorsese, great dramatic fucking directors. John Landis, he knew comedy. I don't know if I'd say he was the comedic version of Steven Spielberg as a director comedically. He certainly had some hits in the 80s, which was his era. You know, of course, Trading Places, Animal House. But John Landis was one of the go-to guys for directing comedies. I wish I could think of some of the other big names back then. What's my man? The Hugh.
I know.
Made all the teenage movies. You know what I mean? Comedies.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember it. I couldn't.
Yeah, I don't remember his name, but anyway, yeah. Respect the game, man. Respect the game. I'm telling you, one of the. I know I may have mentioned this before. One of the greatest things that I took pleasure in was hearing Denzel say, you know, he's not one to want to do a comedy. They're one of the greatest actors of all time, and he said he was intimidated by comedies.
He said comedy was hard.
Comedy was hard.
I was looking up some of these other ones,
but yeah, I mean, you know, that's why I said, man, that and doing dialects, doing accents. I know something like, listen, I guess you have to really be Scottish or Irish, but I've heard real Scottish people and Irish people go, Mel Gibson's accent in Braveheart was shit. I thought that shit sounded believable to me. But I'm speaking from a place of, I don't really know Scottish and Irish, but this shit sounded authentic to me. There are a couple times when he says something and I go, nah, he didn't have that. Whatever that. He didn't have that shit on there.
But he kind of he stayed in that character way more than Kevin Costner did in
And I'm telling you folks, if you really just want to laugh and have your jaw hit the floor, watch Denzel in The Mighty Quinn. And I love me some Denzel, and I think Denzel is one of the best ever. But that Jamaican accent, nigga. I mean, yeah, man, which is the typical thing that white people say, man. He said man, but then there would be a time we go, what you want to do is go up the stairs and turn to your left, and then you'll be better there, man. That nigga's accent was terrible.
That was early, though.
Yeah. Another one of my childhood favorites, man, Indiana Jones.
Yeah. No, Indiana
Jones, dude.
Because that was the first person to come from Star Wars.
Yes. You get two franchises, boy. Star Wars and Indiana Jones, Stallone, Rocky, and Rambo. You get two franchises. You're solidified. You're rich for life.
You know, before we get to this, though, I don't think you have it. Maybe you do.
What?
Because we're on there. Did you bring up when he worked with De Palma, Steven Spielberg?
No.
Because he
talks about Scarface and burning his hand on the thing.
Yeah, but he got to do that one scene where he's like, "Say hello to my little friend." That's Spielberg's scene.
Really?
He was directing that scene.
And that's the line that people say, fans say the most. Say hello to my little friend.
Now he just had that happen to be in his scene, but that is his scene when he's on the stairway, he's shooting everybody, and that's his scene.
Wow.
Well, I don't know if he was second director on that, but he was assisting De Palma in filming that one.
Wow.
That part. I just because we were talking about what he could so there's always an eye.
Again, geniuses helping geniuses.
Yeah.
What I loved about Indiana Jones was it felt like a ride. A visual ride.
And then it turned into one at Disneyland.
Right.
So, yes.
Right. But I got to say, of the three, I don't even count that last one with Shia LaBeouf, but of the three, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark, it didn't really, for me. But Temple of Doom, especially with Round Eye, Mr. Dr. Jones, I thought he was adorable.
Dude, I like the first one the best.
You Raiders of the Lost Ark? Nah,
it opened up the door for all of that other stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I loved it.
That did nothing for me, but I loved Temple of Doom and I loved The Last Crusade, because Sean Connery, that dynamic with him and Sean as father and son, that was great.
That was really good.
That was really good.
You didn't care for the Shia LaBeouf one at all?
Nah, yo.
There was just some fun parts in it. It wasn't.
The only thing I liked was at the end when Indiana Jones marries the chick from the first one.
Yeah.
And Shia LaBeouf is about to put the hat on as though it's the passing of the torch. And Harrison Ford snatches his hat and goes, give me that motherfucker. And puts it back on his head as though to say, I am Indiana Jones. But it should be done. They're doing a new one. He's 80, man.
I wish you would really say,
give me my motherfucker hat.
Yeah. I really wish you would have said that.
Right.
Yeah, but he's 80, but Sean Connery worked well into his age. So let's see what this turns out to be. I'm interested in seeing what it is.
All right, now here we go. Color Purple. You said you had.
I just listen.
First, before you talk, let me ask you this question, because I know Spike Lee had a problem with him doing that movie. Should he have done that movie?
No.
You think a black guy should have?
I need to say what I want to say. And maybe it's because it happened to him, because he did it later in life. But when you talk about doing, and it's different. It's a different time. And he wasn't definitely hitting on one particular moment in history where, and I really feel when he did Schindler's List, and he was very careful about doing it, and it was so important to him to get these details really right. But he's talking about something very specific in a time, and it encompasses that whole time. This is a different time that he's talking about. But it was such a unique film to be a studio film. Yeah, a black director should have caught some of those things. I got to tell you, the colors and everything that he did, there was a little zippity doo-dah to that thing when you see.
You know what's funny about that? And I know a lot of people won't catch what you just said. You mean zippity doo-dah like from the cartoon?
No, the dude, the cartoon with the guy
zippity doo-dah, zippity day.
Yeah. It had the flowers funny. And the things. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So I have a problem with, and maybe because and listen, I'm not giving him, I'm not trying to look for a way out for him on this one. But yeah, I think today, with who he is today and the production company he has today, if that film was to be done again, I think that he would have the experience now and knowing what he had to bring to a movie that was important to him.
So you're saying you don't think he had the experience to carry the weight of that?
I don't think that he had the culture to.
Word. Here. Okay. Have you finished? Are you?
I think that's enough from the White Gallery.
Denzel was on a panel, and he was with the cast of Fences, and somebody asked him, could a white director have made Fences? And he said, no, the way a black person shouldn't be making Italian mob movies. And he goes, the reason why Scorsese is so great at making those movies, it's his culture. It's Italian culture. And he goes, Fences is our culture. And just like I could sit here and every black person could sit here and tell you what that smell is when a black mother is putting a hot comb to the back of her black daughter's head, and you hear that burn and that smell. That's a culture. So Fences is a culture. So there are certain movies that, culturally, we are more, inept to do than anybody else. It speaks to who we are. So and so there's that. And, Spike said, not Spike, but Spielberg said there was a scene in the book where Whoopi Goldberg and the lady she's with makes her see her pussy in a mirror. And Steven went, that just was too much for me. So he didn't put that in the movie. I bet Spike Lee would have. And how you leave something that important out because you get the heebie-jeebies. Or even if Spielberg, he's got this reputation, again, as this family, everybody get in the car and as a family, let's go enjoy a Steven Spielberg film. So for him to be associated with that, his brand, He was like, no.
Then he shouldn't have done the movie.
Yes.
But there is a scene now where in the documentary where he talks about it, he said he might have done it differently now. But he never was even said, like, I would definitely do it differently.
Right.
I might have done it. But listen, there's this anyone, I believe any really, when we're talking about these upper directors, these upper echelon directors, I think any of them can make a good movie on any category, on any level. But to make a great movie,
Right.
it comes from the details.
Right.
And in that scene in The Offer, when the movie we read about, so the series in The Offer, when they're just standing around and they're cooking pasta, and they go, this needs to be in the movie.
Right.
Because you recognize these details from the culture that brings it to the bubble up so that you really get the feel. So even if you're not part of the culture, someone from looking on the outside can go,
Right.
oh, like maybe they don't even catch it, but maybe they felt like they were there because of it. And then the people who are familiar with the culture are really like, this is the movie because they got it all. And you know, if it's great, if it's really great, you don't even notice that you're getting it all because it's there in front of you.
Right.
It seems like you're part of what's going on. I think that misses a lot. And again, it goes to why I feel like movies that have anything to do with Hispanic characters there's very few Hispanic directors, black directors. Only now have we started to see more black directors. But this is missing from all this. That's enough of that, I guess.
Somebody sent me a clip, and I record it, and obviously I can't see it because it comes on Fridays, and we're on the road and doing stand up. But I record it, I DVR it, and when I get home, I watch real time with Bill Maher. But somebody sent me the clip, and I know it was based off of what we talked about with Franco, where in the segment called New Rules, Bill Maher talked about the James Franco thing. And this is where I know he's not going to respond, but I sent Bill a message on his DMs. I said, Bill, I know you may not respond to this, but you might remember me. I was on Politically Incorrect with Jason Alexander and Man Cow when you had that show. And then you did a skit with me on Mad TV called Real Motherfucking Talk. But I just want to say, and I said it very respectfully, I'm a fan, man. But I think what you said was very white of you. Because what he alluded to, and he kind of slammed John. And he said, and he said the same thing that a lot of people were saying. That's why it's called acting. And the best person for the job should get the role, John. And then he brought up 3 pictures of John playing 3 different characters. One of them was Luigi as the Mario Brothers, Italian. And then one where he played a French dude and something else. And he said, here you are, John, playing an Italian, a French guy, and whatever the other guy was. Again, it's called acting. And so I wrote the bill and I said what I had said before. Yo, man, those are fictitious characters. Same way, again, Pacino is Cuban, Scarface, Pacino is a Puerto Rican, Carlito's way. Those are fictitious. We're talking about biographical. And when you're dealing with somebody's culture, and Fidel Castro is part of the Latin culture, then you have to represent that accurately, truthfully, and respectfully. You're talking about a real person. And furthermore, if for no other reason, what he missed, Bill, what you're missing is John's bigger point was it wasn't a slam to Franco. It was there are Cuban actors out there that can do this. So why not be honest and true and accurate to the character and to the culture? And let me not say character, because again, it's biographical, to the culture, and get a Latino actor. And the way, the pompous way that Bill kind of brushed it off and said what he said, again, that's why I said, dude, it's very white of you, what you just said. Like, come on, man. And then he used the example, Sean Penn played Harvey Milk, a gay man. And Sean's the furthest thing from gay. I said, okay, but Sean's also white. Harvey Milk was white. If you have Morgan Freeman playing African or Wesley Snipes play a Jamaican, the only thing I'm gonna slam is if the accent is bad. But even if they're not that, they're still black. And they're still part of the culture. So, again, this is why I say sometimes white people very dismissive.
I'm not going to disagree with anything that you just said, only that when Harvey Milk was being made, they could have found a gay actor to play that if they really would have done.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not, and again, I'm not. I thought that a good job. I thought that a job that was well done by Sean Penn. He did a very good job in that. And again, it's acting, and you are playing a white guy, and you're not a representative of the lifestyle that he is. But you're still, but
Denzel told me you don't have to be a murderer to play a killer.
Yeah. But he is actually, I think he caught the character, and I don't think that he shied away from anything that Harvey Milk did or would have been in that movie. But if you have someone that is gay, maybe they would have saw some things that Harvey Milk would have done differently in some of those scenes. And so I do think that would have been nice. But yeah, so that kind of goes against what I think he was looking for. I think there would have been a good response to have it. I understand though that like Rosamo came out and said, yeah, he goes, and I thought his response was great. Yeah, but I was the exception to play those roles, not the rule. It's not like Latin actors are getting all these other parts.
Right. There's not even enough roles like there are for white people. So there's that point too.
So I understood I really understood what he was saying. I do think that on this particular film, like you just said, biographical, I said this from the beginning. I think that they, if they did all their research and they brought in everybody for this part and Franco was still the one and you put effort into it, but this game, it's about attaching the right name with the right film to make the right amount of money. And
but it's always that way. Well.
No, but I'm saying that's the Hollywood excuse.
Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Because again, they ain't asking Chris Rock to play Elvis.
Right.
And they ain't asking, back to a little bit of a Spielberg, they ain't asking Spike Lee to direct Schindler's List.
Right.
So when it's their stories, they hold that sacred. But when it's our shit or a minority shit, it could be different. And again, you tell me if I'm wrong, but when Bill Maher if you're going to make the point, straight up, the best actor should get the job, regardless. Well, if that's your sticking point, then again, why we can't cast Meryl Streep as Harriet Tubman? You either stick to that point and mean it, or you don't.
The best actor filling that role, and then we always try to get. We should always try, and I think there's no reason why we can't accomplish right now because it's wide open. They should be able to achieve some proximity of who that person is in their culture. Now, when you said you keep saying Latin, and then you said there was Cuban actors, like you just said, if it would have been anyone in the real Latin spectrum, someone that really hit that and looked like, I don't think anybody's complaining. It's just It's James Franco, who, even if you want to take part of his culture of who he is, Portuguese, and John makes a good point of what that is versus what he's playing. You can make all of those points, but Franco's always played the white guy. So he's the white guy. I'm sorry.
Right.
So, he's not played a character. That's who he plays.
Right.
I don't know. I really.
Somebody wrote me an email in regards to this conversation we had and said, hey, man, and I made this point and said, J-Lo's Puerto Rican. She played Selena, who's Mexican. So what? It's Latin. It still falls under the umbrella of Latin. And I remember when Neri said to us something about that same kind of thing. Take the win.
Yeah, take the win.
It's still Latin.
Listen, there were a lot of Mexicans that were upset about that, though, because the Mexican population is very large in the United States, period. And
they're everywhere.
And they're not asking for a whole lot.
Right.
And someone like Selena, who was a big character in that, I shouldn't even say character, who was a big, she had fame, worldwide fame. And they were just looking for someone to represent her that was actually Mexican. And I understood, take the win. Yes, at least there was representation. And it was J-Lo. It wasn't like they just found some random.
And that's a clear-cut case of bigger name, bigger money.
And a great look. Popular.
Right.
You take the win. But yeah, I understand. And that's the undercurrent of that. But this one is outright. We're talking about Fidel Castro. You could have got somebody. They could at least look. Where was the auditions? We're going to do a movie, and we're looking for the person to play this character. I would have liked to have seen that. So I understand why everybody's complaining about it.
Gilbert Gottfried as Malcolm X. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Dude, you know what would be fun?
Yes.
To make Hollywood Misses. And
Oh,
you just do all these characters.
James Gandolfini as Dr. Martin Luther King. And I got a fucking dream. I got a dream that one day my kids will be able to fucking sit with the other kids and there's no fucking problems. You know? I got a fucking dream. I had a fucking dream that, fucking free and lash, thank God we're fucking all gone, you know?
I think you could do something with that.
Right. And I always jokingly say this, because Color Purple, of course, I think was Oprah's debut into the same character over and over again in struggle strife movies. She gonna play that role till she get that Oscar. That ooh child, my feet hurt. She plays that same ooh child, my feet sure do hurt. Surely. Freedom gon' come. I'm a billionaire. I live in a castle, but my feet hurt.
How good was Whoopi though in this?
Whoopi was great.
Man, I forget what she really is.
I gotta
great
tell y'all
actress.
one of the funniest jokes. Corey Holcomb. Have you ever seen Oprah without makeup? She looks like Forrest Whitaker. Hilarious. You don't think that's funny?
I think it's funny, but it's so mean.
Yeah. Dude, here's I love this fucking series. Dude, Jurassic Park. That again, to me, was the equivalent for the 90s, what E.T. was for the 80s. That first reveal, welcome to Jurassic Park.
And I think Jurassic Park is great, but it doesn't, all the CGI doesn't hold up.
And again, I've said this on the podcast, but the Jurassic Park where they go back to get the dinosaurs off the island and there's the volcano. When they see the Brachiosaurus there, look at the difference. The CGI for the Brachiosaurus first reveal on Jurassic Park versus that one, the textures, that looks so much more realistic.
And how fast that moves, that technology moves.
Right.
But when you watch it, when we first saw it,
it was mind-blowing.
Like, oh my God. And now you watch it and you're like, oh my God.
Right. That's funny. But the T-Rex holds up.
T-Rex kind of holds up, but that was the main, they got it. They worked more on it.
That one. Now you could tell where like the big close-ups when the T-Rex would come near the car and the eye would squint from the light. That was the puppet they built. But that moment where it's the big shot where you see its full body as it broke past the wires, that's CGI. That looked phenomenal.
Dude, I really did like it. But when that flag at the end of the movie.
Oh, somebody wrote, how did the dinosaur get in there? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was doorways, nigga.
Yeah.
How did he get in that fucking building?
Yeah.
And dude, going back to the kids, when that dinosaur attacks them for the first time in that Jeep, that little girl sold that motherfucker, dude. Every time I watch her performance, I'm like, this bitch sold this shit. And that one scene where they tried to climb over the fence and at the last minute, the electricity was turned on.
Yeah.
And the guy, I don't know the actor's name, but he's trying to CPR the kid back. And they cut to her pacing and crying. That little girl sold that motherfucker.
Dude, when that scream happens, I almost have to believe that they had a camera ready to go and then they just scared the shit out of her. Because that scream is just too, like they set something up to something jumped out of the air and landed in front of her and she just lost it.
Right.
Because that scream is fucking, yeah.
I got to say this, even though it's Jurassic Park 2, this is where I love Jeff Goldblum. I don't know if it's sarcasm, but the way he delivers certain lines in certain moments, when Richard Attenborough goes, oh, don't worry, I'm not making the same mistakes as I did before. And he goes, no, you're making all new ones.
Dude, he's such a fucking great actor. He's just that guy, and there's roles that just are perfect.
Yeah, man. And he goes, this this is our last chance at redemption. And Jeff Goldblum goes, John, no. Of course, no. And I'm going to tell you that. I love it. I think I'm going to get this impression soon.
Yeah, it's worth doing, man. Even if you just had it so that you could use it on a night out when someone says something dumb to you.
Right. What was his name? Of John. What was his name? Jeff Goldblumisms.
Oh, yeah.
Some Jeff Goldblumisms. I'm going to figure that out. My wheels are turning trying to figure out what the joke is. My last note, dude, save it, Private Ryan. I want to commit. But even in this trailer, they show the one explosion and the dude's torso literally shoots off in the air, separate from his waist. I can't do it.
I'm not laughing at any of that because it's the real, they're trying to recreate real things to happen. I'm laughing knowing who you are.
Let me ask you something, and I wrote this down. I'm sure there's more, but of these movies, which is the best war movie? Jarhead, Black Hawk Down, Save It, Private Ryan, Platoon, Apocalypse Now, or Full Metal Jacket?
I'll tell you which one's my favorite, and it's Full Metal Jacket.
Really?
Yeah, I really like that Stanley Kubrick movie. That the two stories in the one. Dude, that the acting in that, the how it like you could smell that movie.
Right. Dude, I'm gonna tell you what my favorite is until it really starts getting too much. Black Hawk Down.
It's great, but that's the movie. Oh. That's where they start using the handheld camera that's moving all over the place.
Right. You don't like that?
Sometimes it just becomes too much at certain points.
Yeah, because I play Call of Duty. Yeah. I like the shooting and the fucking the military shit. But again, they had the one scene where the dude, they showed his waist. He's laying on his back, and his intestines are out of his shit. I know it's the reality, but goddamn.
But on that list, there's not a bad movie. Platoon is amazing. Platoon is also another one of my
of that list. Which is the less goriest?
I don't know. Is Jarhead less gory?
I only saw Jarhead once a long time ago, but that might be it.
Because I know that he was a sniper, so the shots were taken from further away.
Is Full Metal Jacket gory?
It has some scenes in it, but I don't think it's that gory. It leaves a lot up to your imagination.
Yeah, then I can fuck with leave to my imagination.
Yeah. But there is some scenes in there. I don't know that one would. Platoon. Yeah, Platoon had some gore in it. Apocalypse Now has some.
Saving Private Ryan.
That was probably because they got that one. That was the closest they said, from what I hear from people that had been in the war.
Right.
That was the closest to the realism of what was actually experienced. So, and he really tried to get that one, I think, right. It's probably the best story, like the triumph story,
Knowing that it's possible for you to get blown to bits like that. You think you go fight?
I think getting blown to bits is the least thing that I'd be worried about.
What would you be worried about?
Just getting shot and captured and tortured. I'd rather get blown up. Blown up, you're there 1 second, you're gone the next.
You know what I should have included in that list? God damn it. 5 Bloods.
Yeah.
Give some black love to some death. The 5 Bloods.
Full Metal Jacket is just, I still watch it. I have it on DVD. I pop it in every now and then. Right. And then when it comes on, I always watch it. That's the dude from Law and Order, or not SVU. It was
white guy, black guy.
The white dude, the guy who plays a little bit kind of a crazier. That was his younger self. Trying to remember his name right now, but he's the one who plays the crazy guy that kills himself in the first part of the movie.
Really? Okay.
That scene when they beat the shit out of him, when they do the soap thing, and you watch him go crazy. It's fuck, dude.
What was the war movie with De Niro? With the Russian roulette scene.
I don't remember. I don't remember the name of it.
But you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, there we go. It's called Spielberg. Oh, dude, real quick, we didn't even fucking mention it. Anything to add about Schindler's List?
Oh, we didn't mention it. It was a phenomenal movie. I thought they did a really. I thought he told a really. It's an interesting perspective, because here's a guy who went to be a profiteer in the war and then ended up using all his money to save. I forgot how many Jews. I forgot the number, but I loved when they're talking to him, he wanted to do something in the end to make it feel right, or to put something to add the perspective to what he did, other than just that movie. And then it ends with, he saved, and to go back to the cemetery, and then you see all the Jews that have, because he saved them, all these other Jews that have lived, and they went back, and emotionally to watch them go back and they're in the cemetery, and that was a hell of an end.
I think for me, that's where it becomes about culture, because I want to say I don't care. Not to say I don't care. I just don't care to see that movie. I don't know that I'm not trying to be insensitive, but I don't feel a connection, or it doesn't touch me to see the movie. I'm not saying I don't, that was obviously a horrible, fucked up thing. And, you don't
have to justify why
it's an atrocity.
But it doesn't culturally lend itself to you. So I understand that. But there's scenes in there when he says he's trying to save these kids, because they don't. Why do you want these kids, these little kids?
Right.
Because they're the only ones with the hands small enough to get in to clean the. He was
to clean what?
To clean the inside of the shells that they were making.
Oh, Jesus!
Like just these little ways that he came up to save people's lives, and really to see the hypocrisy of these Nazis that are like having an affair, or sleeping with the Jewish women,
right.
And even falling in love with this Jewish woman, and then hating himself and hating her because he's falling in love with her, and then that's this. It's more than just that, and and when he describes the scene of the little girl in the red overcoat.
Do you think if it were made in color, it would have made a difference?
I think no. I think I liked it in black and white. I liked it feeling that way, because I think color. First of all, okay, when those kids try to save themselves and they jump into the basically the outhouses, and they're in the shit, they're in all the feces. I mean, then you have to.
Wow, you saw the movie. Schindler's List.
Yeah, a couple times. Why not? Why wouldn't I see that movie?
Right. Like, why wouldn't I see Roots?
Yeah, but I saw Roots too. I'm actually concerned with the internal struggle of everyone. I really am. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's something that we all have in common that people don't understand. We all have an internal struggle, and even if the struggle is different, they all affect us in the same way. So that's really kind of where I look to some of these things to get me to understand. But yeah, when it allowed you to have the movie and have the gore and have the blood and to see the pain, see what it is without being a gory, dropped in shit kind of movie when you do it in the black and white. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because if you would have had that much blood, if you would have had it would take you out of the. It might have put you really into it, but also it takes away from the story of what was happening, the atrocities, and then this one man who changed his whole outlook. I kind of hate making him the hero, though. That's the only thing about the movie, that he is a hero, but he was so flawed. But you have to respect what the end is, not the beginning.
Well, again, to the genius as Liam Neeson, who has such a distinct voice.
He sounds like
set of skills.
He sounds like he got punched in the gut, and he's always talking after he got punched in the gut.
It really hurt when you hit me with an uppercut. The way you threw that punch near my ribs, it really hurt me.
Right?
Yeah. When he's describing how Steven Spielberg is telling him to smoke the cigarette, and the smoke coming up and the angle and the lighting. And he talked about how he hated it, but it was Ben Kingsley who told him, trust the process. Trust Spielberg. And he did it. And of course, like you said, would you say not something but the end? Trust the results?
Yeah, the end's justified.
Yeah, the end justified. And just, again, going, even as great as Liam Neeson may have been as a creative talent, he didn't see the genius.
Well, I understood his point, though. You're an actor. They have you on to bring your skill set because he has a particular set of skills.
I have a particular set of skills.
Yeah, and one of them was smoking that cigarette. And then to be told, no, a little bit more, and I understood his point. Is this going to be the whole movie? Because imagine if you come in and bring your talents, and the first thing, we're just going to get this shot. I'm going to smoke a cigarette, and we're going to, and all of a sudden he's like, no, more of this. Right. You would go, I'm not going to do this for however, and you're in Poland. The weather is shit.
Right.
You're living this life where you're, making a film isn't, if you're not in a nice place, making the film isn't a nice, fun place thing to do.
I think it's wonderful.
So, but he has to, and then you have Spielberg, a little bit more smoke. And you're like, what the, So I get why he said what he said, but it took I love that Ben Kingsley, who's also already an Academy Award winner, said, just trust him. He sees it.
It's great. That's great. Shooting a movie is like being paid to go on a field trip.
Yeah, but there's some places you don't want to go on field trips to.
What you getting paid for the movie? Nigga, I'll shoot a movie in a person's asshole.
I like some of these old actors when they go, I'll make a movie if it's made here and during this part of the year.
Yeah, that's them when they finally put in a gazillion years in the business and they're set for life. But when you're trying to get there, it's an adventure.
Yeah, but Liam Neeson was already there, so I understood his irritation.
I don't want to go to Poland. I want to go somewhere where it's warm, somewhere nice and tropical, where I could finally stop talking like this.
Yeah, I wonder if he always has to talk like that, right? That's his voice.
That's his voice, yeah.
Could you imagine, like you do that bit with Statham? But
Jason Statham. Yeah.
Everything sounds angry.
Everything sounds angry.
Could you imagine them having a pleasant conversation together?
Right. It's a beautiful day, isn't it, Lisa? Liam? Yeah, it's nice and bright. The sun's out. It's not a cloud in the sky. I feel like eating ice cream. When the sun's out, it's a beautiful day. Don't you want ice cream? Yes, I think I'll have the macadamia nut. What are you going to eat? I'm going to go for the pistachio. Look, there's little children over there, boys and girls, and they're playing with balloons. Let's go pop them.
Nothing sounds nice.
Right. That might actually, if I can
get that?
a good Liam, that might be all right. That'd be rough as a gay couple. I want to tell you, Lisa, you look really good in those slacks the other day. Oh, yeah. I thought you would notice the bulge in the front. Do me a favor. Get on your knees, bloke. Suck me cock. All right, I'll do it, but after that, you gotta do me. Oh, you're gonna do it good. Maybe you haven't heard. I have a particular set of skills.
It's almost the Eddie Murphy with the honeymooners. It's almost that, but it's dark, really dark, instead of just funny. That might be a bit. Let me think about that. I might have to work on tightening that up a little bit, but that might be a good bit. It's kind of funny. All right. Are we there? Want to give out some dates? We're there, man. Yeah. Dates. We're here in Chicago right now. You're listening to this, will already be gone, obviously, but we were here. We experienced Illuminati's or some shit. Chicago pizza. Illuminati's, that's what it is. And it's one giant sausage patty on a pizza. It is fucking awesome. Okay, so we're going to be, next week, we'll be at the Stress Factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Oh. That is the 18th through the 20th. If you see us out, please come up and say hi to us there because we have absolutely nothing to do in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Not a goddamn thing. But we'll be there. And then we take a week off, and then we're back for our month of September dates. The 1st through the 4th, we're going to be at Cap City in Austin, Texas. And that's we're excited to be at that reopening. I don't know. I'm sure it's already reopened, but we're early on, and it's relaunch. So we're excited about being out there. Then we're going to be at Addison Improv 8th through the 11th of September. And then Spokane Comedy Club, the 16th through the 18th of September. And followed by Raleigh Improv, which is actually in Cary, the 22nd through the 25th. And then we end up the month, the 30th, at Levity Live in it's New York. And our dates are the 1st. Is it only through the 2nd? Oh, no, it's the 30th through the 2nd of October. So that's our month.
All right. This is from Ace the Kid. Instagram handle is g.i.t.m_TWC. Instagram is ATKFRM1600. The song is called Wish I Woulda Knew by Ace the Kid. Good night. Good night, bloke. Why you gotta keep on the light? No, really. I was thinking I could jam me cock in your mouth and it'll do it with such blunt force, you'll see nothing but black. I already had that done before by a big black man named Opportunity. All right. Just trying something. All right, there it is.
Spears and Steinberg.
Thanks for listening to the Spears and Steinberg podcast. If you'd like to know who's responsible for this shit, it was hosted by Ari Spears and Andy Steinberg, produced by Steve Merrick and Anthony Holmes, executive producer, Big Papa, Robert Kelly, and Matt Klein-Schmidt for the Laugh Button podcast. For more information on where to find us on the internet, visit SpearsburgPod.com.